Hello and welcome to another episode of our From the Helm series, live here at the Resources Rising Stars Gold Coast Conference for 2025. I'm Grady Wolf, Senior Market Analyst with Bell Financial Group. AusQuest is an exploration company targeting new deposits for a range of commodities, including magmatic nickel, copper, platinum group element sulfides. And I'm thrilled today to be joined by Graeme, the Managing Director of AusQuest. Graeme, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Now, Graeme, for our investors who may not be familiar with the AusQuest story, can you tell us about the company and what you've been up to?
AusQuest is a junior exploration company. We've been active for maybe 20 years. We're looking for major deposits, provincial scale deposits that will make a difference for where we find them in whatever country. So we've been active mainly in Peru and Australia. In Peru, we announced a major discovery earlier this year, which saw quite a bit of excitement in the marketplace. Which increased our value from roughly 10 million up to maybe 70 or 80 million.
Wow.
Which has now come back a little bit in the last few weeks, but we're about to start some more drilling soon, so we hope that's about to change.
Now, speaking of that major discovery that you've announced, the porphyry copper discovery at Kango, projecting in Peru in January this year. Tell us about what you found so far and why it's so significant.
Well, in Peru, there's a lot of stranded porphyry copper deposits that many companies have. The one that we found is very close to the coast. It's within 8 kilometres of the coast. It's a greenfields discovery, which means we found it from scratch. There's no previous work. So we've done a lot of work in this country. We've been there for maybe 14 years. And this is a result of hard work and persistence on behalf of the team in Peru. Our maiden drill program, which we completed at the end of last year, we drilled 8 holes. Every one of the holes hit thick intersections from the surface to the full depth of drilling. We hit mineralisation that's in places grading over 0.4% copper. We have thick sections that grade over 0.3. And given the location we have, we think that 0.3 is the new 0.5 and that it's basically economic. It's shallow, it's thick, it's oxidised, it's potentially heap leachable, which means low cost. So we're quite excited about the oxide copper that we've got. And we're also excited about the potential for sulfide copper that we'll find underneath it, because these systems are huge. They're absolutely huge. They go down can be thousands of metres. So we're quite excited. We're at the beginning of our story and we've only just started to scratch the surface.
Absolutely. Now, Kango is located close to infrastructure already and the coast. Why is this significant?
It's significant because you can have lower costs, you have lower capex and opex costs. We're also the time to development. I think you quoted in your talk this morning that 17 years
to get into
is an average to get into production. A lot of that's due to location, if there's communities involved, the use of water for processing, where does that come from? There's a whole lot of issues that go into it. So where we're sitting very close to the coast, as we said. We're at an elevation of maybe 1,200 metres, so we don't have to pump desal water up for 100 kilometres or more up to 3,000 or 4,000 metres. So the costs there should be much lower.
Yeah.
Our mineralisation is starting near surface, so early on you can open cut and treat the oxide copper through a heap leach process. And that's also a lower cost type process. So we think where we're sitting is an ideal place for shortening the time frame to development, which is worth money, and keeping the costs as low as possible. So we're quite location's becoming a bigger and bigger issue in South America, as you probably know, with many of the big companies wanting to increase production, having to find ways to get processed water. So we think we're sitting in an ideal situation, and hopefully that adds value to the project and value to the shareholders. So
absolutely. Now, for shareholders, what's next with this discovery?
Well, to date we've drilled 21 holes, so we've drilled 8,000 metres. You look at many other companies with porphyry deposits there; they've drilled 100,000 metres. So we've only just started. Our drill hole spacing is 300 metres, so we're looking wide space to get a feel of the absolute potential of what we've got. So our next phase of drilling is starting probably by the end of this month. We should be drilling again. So between now and the end of the year, we hope to have completed another round of RC drilling, maybe 5,000 or 8,000 metres, depending on what we hit, and maybe a couple of deep holes just to see how far down does the copper sulfides go. And if they go down to 800 metres or 1,000, then you're adding a huge dimension onto the resource. So the resource can start to grow fairly rapidly from that point. So a pretty exciting time for us and our staff, and also hopefully for the shareholders.
Absolutely. Now, AusQuest does have a long-standing relationship and partnership with South32, the global mining giant. How does this alliance work, and what are the main projects included in it?
We've had an alliance with South32 now for nearly 9 years.
Wow.
Which is fairly unusual for a junior. I will step back a little and say that the ownership of the Peruvian projects is 100% AusQuest. South32 were involved at one stage, but they've pulled back for a whole range of reasons, which I won't go into at the moment. And I don't know that's their reasons anyway. But so we own the Peruvian stuff 100%. In Australia, we have 5 projects that we're currently working on that are funded through the alliance with South32. We provide program of budgets and our recommendations for what we need to do, and if they're in agreement, they'll provide the funds for us to do that work. We then get the results, interpret, recommend ways to go forward, and they'll fund that. So we've been doing that now for, as I said, 9 years. They've spent quite a lot of money. We have a great relationship with the guys, both technically and obviously from our point of view, the financial importance is really quite critical. So most of our projects in Australia, we don't fund the work on ourselves. So it's a bit like giving someone steak knives, if you like. So we got the Peru work, which we actually fund ourselves, and then the Australian work, which is basically funded at this point in time through South. Now that agreement's coming up for renewal towards the end of this year, so we'll see what happens, whether we get a 10th year or not.
Yeah, now you've recently discovered magnetite at your Morrissey project in WA. Tell us about this.
Oh wow. Magnetite's not as sexy as copper or gold.
Yeah.
but it is.
It's necessary.
It is valuable. What's happened in our Morrissey project is we tested one of the prospects. It was a magnetic gravity anomaly, if you like, and when we tested it, we found that we hit an iron formation, which was metamorphosed, which is a technical term, heated up, if you like. And what we found when we processed that magnetite through a Davis tube test, which sort of separates the magnetic magnetite from all the rest of the rock, we were able to produce a product that had over 70% iron. So we've got one prospect there that consistently produces more than 70% iron from a simple process, so a simple grind and through a magnetic separator will get you that sort of result. It's a coarse grind. It's sort of over 100 microns. So typically the magnetite from banded iron formations, you might grind down it to 35 microns or something like that, which is a lot of energy, a lot of cost. So we're thinking the cost for this will be quite cheap. So we've got a high grade, small pod at this stage. This year we've tested another six targets. At least 4 of them have given us similar results, but we've only drilled 2 or 3 holes per target. So when we get those results back, which should be over the next month or 2, they're being delayed a little bit, we'll have an idea what the ultimate potential size of the resource may be. But if you can get plus 70% iron in a product, and in this world of green steel, it becomes something that we think is going to have a bit of value as we go into the future. So it's maybe not as sexy as copper and the porphyry coppers, but it's potentially could be worth a bit of money. So we're keen to go on that, and South is still funding that project. So
Perfect.
they may have a similar view to us.
Yeah, definitely. And finally, for investors who are considering an investment in AusQuest, why is now the time to consider that investment?
But now is always the time to consider that as an investment. We're about to start drilling again in Peru, so that's and every time we've drilled so far at the Kango prospect, it's grown in size. Most of our holes are hitting copper. Out of 21 we've drilled to date, You could argue 19 have hit copper mineralisation. 16 of those, or roughly 16, have hit it from surface to the bottom of hole. So that's a good percentage. And our indications from the work that's been done by the team in Peru, led by Mick Sherrington, is telling us that we have a lot more to go as we go to the south. And we're in the process of getting our permits to be able to drill there, and we're expecting that to come along within the next month. So between now and the end of the year, we should be drilling, and at that stage, it may be too late for investors. So we'd be saying, get in now before we drill, but whilst there's never a guarantee, we can't guarantee what we're going to get. We think the indications are pretty strong, so we're quite confident.
Graeme, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and insights into AusQuest. And if you enjoyed that episode, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channels to stay up to date with all market insights, commentary, and of course, exclusive interviews just like this one.
Thank you.